I've got a bunch of smartphones in front of me, and I can't say that I mind. One of the great privileges of this particular profession is the ability to try out a completely absurd number of smartphones. So I'm going to give you a little bit of history right now on what I have been gravitating towards, the phones I've been using, and what I'm about to do, which is drastic. In front of me here, I have my various daily driver smartphones for the past little while, the past few months at least. I've got them in chronological order of when they occupied my pocket. On the far left, I have the Galaxy S8, which I put my SIM in, so I got my hands on the Galaxy S8 when it came out, enjoyed the phone. It had its own sets of positives and negatives. I switched over from that device to one that I actually didn't show you guys. Unfortunately, I never got around to making a video. The active version of the S8, an AT&T exclusive device, which increases the battery life up to 4,000 milliamp hours. Now, you know I'm a big fan of big batteries. Otherwise, it's essentially the same. Granted, it has this alternative body on it, kind of like having a case on your phone. It has a shatterproof display, which sounds good, but it actually made it more prone to scratches. So I ended up with a tiny little, not the worst scratch in the world. What it gives you in flexibility when you drop it, you give up a little bit in hardness. One of the things that I didn't like very much about these phones is the fingerprint scanner. Maybe this was the only place they could put it, but maybe they could change the shape. I don't know. But I never really had ultimate confidence in this location, in the shape of it. If you're using a case, a little more finicky to get your finger in there. Of course, you touch the lens. There's a giant fingerprint on the lens right now. Otherwise, an awesome phone. But then the Pixel comes out. The Pixel 2, Pixel 2 XL. We're talking about the Pixel. I've got a bunch of them in front of me. If there's a new OS, Android 8, I'm like, I gotta use it. I enjoyed this. I mean, again, not without its issues. The color shift on the display, probably not the nicest OLED display of the bunch. An almost entirely plastic build, which you may or may not like. Lots of positives too. The forward-facing speakers, not a thing that we see on these other two devices. It feels really nice to type on. The camera is very nice. From there, I tried out this thing that was so different. You probably caught the video. I was very complimentary of this device, the Razer phone. Ooh! In an age of bezel-less smartphones, they were like, who cares? And what we're gonna do is put the best speakers ever in a smartphone in this smartphone. It's the best speaker I've ever heard on a smartphone. And that's what they did. And because of that, I was compelled to move my SIM over and give it a real shot. The multimedia, I'm enjoying it. I'm really liking the fingerprint scanner, the location of it on the power switch, the noise that it makes when you unlock, very Razer-esque. But then you look at the camera, and I believe I've got some level of preliminary software on here, so my confidence is not 100% yet, considering this phone hasn't shipped and regular users aren't using it yet. But also, majorly important, a 4,000 milliamp hour battery, the same as the S8 Active. So that brings me to the end of this lineup, and you probably already noticed, sitting there is an iPhone X, a phone that has had a split reaction. Some people think it's the greatest thing Apple's ever made. Others are critical of the notch and the software, the fact that it's not 100% optimized yet. But of course, we are talking about Apple's flagship, and the camera so far has been phenomenal. But the iPhone and Apple in general is a source of major influence in the tech space. I feel a responsibility to give you guys as much feedback as I can, to dive in more deeply to find out what's good, what's not so good, and what might even be bad. So today I am switching to the iPhone X. Something you probably noticed here is this is a lineup of Android devices. So this is kind of a big deal. I will be using the iPhone X exclusively as my daily driver for at least 1 week, at which point I will come back here, I will sit here, and I will give you the 1 week later report. Jack, show the people. Cue the music. Bye-bye Android. Hello, iPhone X. The SIM card is in. This is my new daily driver device for at least 1 week. I have officially switched to the iPhone X, and I will hold nothing back. 1 week from now, the truth will be here, and only here. So subscribe if you haven't yet, and stay tuned.